Hey folks, it's me, I2I35. Enjoy your summer? This time I want to be talking about something that's rather big, that we can all relate to. It's one of those big things that brings us all together. You're never too old for a Disney movie. And this is not me being a wannabe. Oh, that person is doing this or that. I feel like I want to be like that person. No. This is just me doing like what any other YouTuber would want to do once in a while. Talking about something rather different and rather unique than usually what they normally do. You know, Disney. It's the first thing we're introduced to. It's the first thing we know when growing up. Yeah, it's amazing. I don't think you can really have a childhood unless you grow up with Disney. Now, this is my top 13 Disney movies of all time. Because if someone out there says, I like to go 3 steps beyond. Now, before I give you my list, here are a few honorable mentions.
Yeah. Sunny side up, baby. Alright. When your luck is batting 0, when your heartache feels the same. Deep inside the waits a hero. It's all just a crazy game. Take my hand and sit beside me. No time to run and hide. Miracles will be aplenty if you're here right by my side. Some people see the glass half empty, some see just half a cup. And if you ask me how I like my world, I like the sunny side up, baby. Alright. Sunny side up, baby. Alright. Sunny side up, baby.
Okay, thanks for that. Now, counting off the top 13, these are the top 13 Disney animated movies. Why do I keep saying animated movies? These are the top 13 Disney movies that actually inspired me, and I think are quite underrated at the same time. A bunch of these are, but I'm going to show them to you right now.
Number 13.
Before Iron Man, there was Iron Will. Now, believe it or not, this is actually a true story. It's happened somewhere in South Dakota or North Dakota, I forget which, during the 1920s, and it's a true story about a man named Will Stoneman, a 17-year-old man who lost his dad in an accident, and now he only lives with his mom and their caretaker, and he finds out there's this giant dog sledding race that happens. Now, it was this movie and also Balto, that cartoon, that made dog sledding look really fun. Honestly, it really looks like a cool sport. This movie actually came out in, let's see, was this actually published in, let's say, 1994, actually. It was 1994, that was the big year for blockbuster movies. So maybe it's no wonder actually why this became so underrated, because so many good movies came out that year. You know, like Lion King or Forrest Gump. But the guy who plays Will Stoneman is Sean Astin's brother, Mackenzie Astin. Now, this guy is really underrated, much like his brother almost. Even though Sean Astin did play Samwise Gamgee from The Lord of the Rings, I don't see him much in anything else. The same thing with his brother, Mackenzie. Now, I think Mackenzie's a really good-looking guy and is far more acting talented. He is even way more hotter, or I might say good-looking, than Leonardo DiCaprio, an actor I seriously have issues with. I just can't stand his acting or his overratedness. But it is a wild adventure, as the Los Angeles said on ABC TV. Or from Los Angeles, I should say. But yeah, I think it's great fun for the whole family, and it's a real feel-good movie. And Will Stoneman, I dare say, he plays a kind of character that can make you think, wow, if everyone in the world was like you, the world would be a much better place to live. But yeah, I grew up with this, and I'm really surprised to this day how it's so underrated. And it's the 20th anniversary to the movie, so thought I'd bring it up. So, yeah.
And The Hunger Games ain't got nothing on this. Number 12.
Just to give you a clue, something like that happens in the movie. Yes, this is the Jungle Book from the 90s. A pretty underrated version of the Jungle Book, I might say. It was one of those adaptations from Rudy Kiplard's book. I forget what the author's name really was. But of course there's a cartoon version from Disney that a lot of people pretty much everyone knows. But there's this one from the 90s that I grew up with. Now, this is a great score, and Jason Scott Lee is in it playing Mowgli. I think this is a really underrated performance of his. This movie as a whole is quite underrated. But, again, you might have noticed that sometimes I have these VHSs with me, sometimes I don't have them with me. I'm just having the ones that I do have with me, but the ones that I grew up with were rather copied VHSs, so I don't have the covers here with me, so I'll just show them like that. And Cary Elwes from The Princess Bride, who played Wesley, is actually in this, and he plays a bad guy. Now, when I was growing up, I did not know that was Cary Elwes. It just shows that he's really one of those versatile actors, and even Lena Headey is in it. I think that's how you pronounce her name. Really, her style looks really different in this one picture. I was really surprised, and the score and the soundtrack is amazing, and all the animals, whoever trained these animals did a really good job, and it's really great fun. I just love how during the climax area, Mowgli tries to take down each and every one of these bad guys. So I think the jungle is what does it, but yeah, great thrills, great story, great characters, a wild adventure, much like Iron Will. Though Iron Will takes place in the snowland areas, the Jungle Book takes place, if you not guessed it, the jungle. But seriously, yeah, if you haven't seen this movie, it's a great adaptation of the book, of the Jungle Book, and I think you might find something you might like in it. So do please check it out.
Number 11.
Yes, that's right, it's Cars. Now, I understand that there are a bunch of people out here that probably don't like this movie. Now, I liked the first movie right here. Cars 2, I thought, on the other hand, was a little silly. And Cars 3, well, we can only hope that it's better than Cars 2. But this movie, especially, was great animation, great idea. Growing up, I always thought that Cars had somewhat of a face. And technically speaking, there's a lot of colorful and memorable characters in this. It introduced me to a lot of big Hollywood names, like Owen Wilson and Paul Newman, and I didn't even know that George Carlin was in this, well, despite his controversy. And it's a great story. It's got great lessons in it, and is an awesome opening sequence with that song called Rio Gone by Sheryl Crow, I think her name is. I have it on my iPod. I can't get enough of that song. It's pretty cool. And from the manufacturers of The Incredibles and Finding Nemo. Yes, I'm in the crowd that are like, Cars 2, why didn't you make The Incredibles 2? Well, don't worry, they're making it right now. And yes, I'm one of those people who have definitely wanted a sequel to The Incredibles because, at the end when he rips off his shirt and reveals that logo, I thought, wow, they're going to continue it on from there, aren't they? Because I even went back to school and even did a creative writing process of saying, this is how I think The Incredibles 2 will be. Moving way back to this movie, it's well animated, well shot, and well acted. Even Larry, the cable guy, I think he's called, who voices Mater, his accent and his character is just absolutely funny. And seriously, people try to say, oh, Cars, it's a stupid thing. Well, I think it's a great idea, but I agree, Cars should have been its own movie. It didn't need a sequel. The first movie didn't have anything to do with spies, so why did Cars 2 bring that up? But yes, this is one of those, big movies I was pleasantly surprised by, and perhaps I'll never understand why other people don't like this movie. I just don't get it. I can understand why they don't like the sequel, but not this movie.
Number 10.
It's the grandfather to How to Train Your Dragon, The Rescuers Down Under. Now, they had already made a first movie just simply titled The Rescuers, where involved a girl, a diamond in a cave, and a speeding boat, and 2 alligators, and the evil stepmom, whatever. But seriously, I feel privileged to have grown up with this one. I mean, we owned it, I watched it over and over again, and a lot of people have said it's underrated. I'm really surprised. What, a lot of people don't know about this? So, yes, you might understand that there's a Japanese title right here, because, of course, as a lot of you know, I live in Japan, but The Rescuers Down Under, seriously, the flying sequences are amazing, the eagle is especially cool, and Cody from Australia, who of course doesn't have an Australian accent, and the 2 mice are back, and an Australian mice comes in to help them, and so, even on the back here, you can just see all the characters gathered up right there, especially the villain, the poacher, played by George C. Scott. Now, I did not know much about George C. Scott until actually I watched his version of A Christmas Carol, but I still think Albert Finney's version is better. But moving way back, this is a great cartoon, and I definitely recommend it to especially every family that have little kids in them. I understand that this actually came out between The Little Mermaid and Beauty and the Beast, I believe. Now, the reason why it's underrated, because I think perhaps the first week it didn't do so well in theaters, so that's why they scrapped all advertising for it. But seriously, this is a great movie. We ought to increase the DVD sales, or VHS sales, whatever you call it. So the animation is even better than the first movie. And seriously, if you have not seen it, you're really missing out.
Number 9.
Yes, I think this is another underrated Disney drama film, especially. Actually, the creators from it also made The Big Green. You might have seen it in the opening, of all those honorable mentions. But Angels in the Outfield, I thought it was a beautiful, one of those big movies from my childhood. And it had Joseph Gordon-Levitt in it, and also Danny Glover and Christopher Lloyd. A lot of amazing actors, especially Adrian Brody and Matthew McConaughey played a lot of these baseball players. Seriously, I like Danny Glover's character in this better than any of the Lethal Weapon movies. I think those movies are just horribly overrated. I didn't enjoy any of them. So Joseph Gordon-Levitt, yeah, a great Jewish actor, by the way. I don't often seem to like what he seems to be put in these days, whether it be Inception or directing his own movies, or whether it be or this or that. He's a really likable guy, but I just don't like him being put into all these unlikable roles. I mean, what are they doing to his character? I loved him in Angels in the Outfield. This was the first movie I ever saw him in. Big impressions often give you a big connection, especially when you're growing up. But Angels in the Outfield, just that music done by Randy Edelman, such an underrated soundtrack creator, music composer. Why hasn't he won at least one Oscar? Seriously, give credit where credit is due, I might honestly say. Randy Edelman, seriously, just search up his stuff. He's done stuff for The Big Green, Angels in the Outfield, The Little Rascals, the Beethoven movies, and Tall Tale. But I haven't gotten to that good stuff yet.
Number 8.
You wouldn't hit a guy with glasses, would you? Oh, you hit a guy with glasses. That's well played out. Yes, that's right. It's Wreck-It Ralph. Now, this is actually, again, a Japanese cover. It's called Sugar Rush. For Sugar Rush, the game that it mostly takes place in. But yeah, I watched this movie. My brother recommended it to me, and I was just blown away by how great this movie was. It came out in 2012. I just felt like I was not, catching up with all the good flicks to have been coming out. And this is amazing. I'm glad that Disney made this. This is really, Disney-esque. And so many great ideas and so many great colorful characters and a lot of fun comedy. And these characters, you're able to connect with these characters. And seriously, this movie was amazing enough that I think it should have won the Oscar for the Best Animated Feature of 2012, not Brave. Brave was just horrible disappointment. Playing with all those plot lines it just makes you tired or distressed or stressed out or makes you feel paranoid or whatever. Not one of those memorable ones. And I think it's shameful to be called Pixar or Disney, okay? I don't think anyone can really enjoy it. It's just wrestling with stuff, mixing in stuff that we've all seen before, and the last part of the movie was worth at least seeing. I'm glad I saw this movie. I would never see it again. But Wreck-It Ralph, you could watch over and over and over again and still be entertained. But I'm glad they even put Owl City's song into it. I'm a huge fan of Owl City. That song, When Can I See You Again? It's just so catchy and lively and feel good. Owl City, in case a lot of you don't know, he's a Christian, actually. But, yeah, Wreck-It Ralph, it's amazing that they actually came up a fictional video game. And I'm surprised to find out it wasn't a real game. But seriously, mixing in with all these, characters, it's kind of like the Toy Story of video games. As soon as everyone leaves the room, and as soon as everything shuts down, everyone comes together. It just shows you all your favorite characters. It's just pretty cool and amazing. Yeah, I admit, I grew up with video games. I used to go to a Japanese friend's house of mine, and we used to play a lot of video games, especially my Nintendo 64. So a lot of these characters that appeared in this movie, I actually recognized. And I'm glad they're making a Wreck-It Ralph too. Seriously, that one had better also win an Oscar if it's good. And I hear they're actually bringing Mario into it. I can't wait to see what they do with it. But yes, I feel like, though, that Disney is going through another renaissance. You know, they had Tangled and Wreck-It Ralph and Frozen, and Big Hero 6 especially looks amazing. You know, the Disney Renaissance that happened with The Little Mermaid, you know, Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin, Lion King. Everyone is calling that a Disney Renaissance period, where every single one is good after the other. You know, I feel like, yeah, I agree that we're going through another Disney Renaissance.
Number 7.
Do not cite the deep magic to me, witch. I was there when it was written. That's right, it's The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe from 2005. I'm sorry, this is just really reflective, but this is actually the 4-disc extended edition. This had gone on sale, and it actually shows extended scenes and behind-the-scenes footage from a lot of the stuff. Especially includes a 3rd disc, I might say, that is called C.S. Lewis, Dreamer of Narnia. It's a whole documentary that actually shows the life of C.S. Lewis through a lot of animated pictures and a lot of great narration, especially an actor who pretends to be C.S. Lewis, but actually reads real quotes from the real C.S. Lewis. And so when I saw this in early of 2006, because, you know, a lot of movies are procrastinated till coming out in Japan, but I was blown away by just how good this movie was. I wouldn't say that it was trying to be the next new Lord of the Rings and everything. No, I think it had the effort. The effort just happened to be there. And the score especially was memorable. The battle scene, well, you know, when Lucy first finds the wardrobe, it's absolutely amazing. Just can't explain the chills that I had. And so the guy who they especially got to play Aslan was especially amazing. You know, Liam Neeson, I mean, one of those legendary voices. And the whole cast that they picked for all the Pevensey children was amazing. And Tilda Swinton, I did not even know about Tilda Swinton until I saw this movie. She was actually someone who had never read the books, but actually still played the White Witch. And so there's a lot of memorable characters in this stuff. There's a lot of lines from the movie I keep repeating to myself over and over. Now, of course I had grown up with the books, but I never read the books first. It was actually the BBC version that I grew up with. After all, my dad is mostly associated with England, so we got a lot of stuff, especially from England, whether it be the BBC comedies or dramas, etc. And Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, until The Silver Chair, was one whole series of videos we actually had. And they always repeated word for word out of the books, being very faithful, in fact. I would say the only unfaithful thing about this adaptation of The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe was that Father Christmas had a brown robe. Now, the book said his robe was as red as holly berries. I guess that was the only thing I was disappointed about in the movie. I was a little confused why they just didn't go all red. And even in the behind-the-scenes footage, they explain it, but still it doesn't make any sense whatsoever. But yes, I watched this many, many times over, and I still get a kick out of it, and I think it gets better every single time, and yeah.
Number 6.
Beauty and the Beast. What a classic. Seriously, it might seem a bit of a cliche, but honestly, I think it's the best princess movie out there. Seriously, Belle is one that is big and adventurous, and she is not one of those princesses that tries to defy authority or defy her parents or defy whatever, you know, big names are out there that say you can't do this, you can't do that. But you know, the score in the movie was memorable, and the Beast especially was pretty awesome. One of my scenes, which is actually one of my favorites of all Disney films, one of my favorites, is actually where Gaston and the Beast are on top of the roof, and they're actually fighting each other. Seriously, two big guys actually fighting on the roof. That is just epic. The music, the way it is shot, the animation, it's amazing. Actually, I could watch that scene over and over and over again. I love it when two sides of, you know, like good and evil actually start colliding and are like equally strong in a lot of aspects, and when the good wins. And I just love how the story seemed to show that the beasts became more human-like, while Gaston, the human, became more beast-like. And also, especially a lot of the colorful side characters are very memorable, and they're very funny too, especially the clock and the candle. And honestly, I don't want to delve too much on this because I'm sure there have been many videos which have posted it already. I'm just saying I feel privileged to have grown up with it.
Number 5.
Oh, come now, Archimedes. Now, don't you get any idea that magic will solve all your problems? Because it won't. That's right, it's the sword and the stone. Now, I found myself watching this a lot when I was growing up, but seriously, I think it might be because it is such a funny movie as well. It's really Disney-esque, it's kind of well animated in my opinion, and great, colorful, memorable characters, Merlin, Archimedes, and Arthur especially. There's a lot of, good things you can actually learn from this movie, and seriously, the magic in the movie is especially fun to watch, especially a wizard's duel at the end between Madame Mim and Merlin. That was always fun to watch. And seriously, just laugh after laugh after laugh. It's just, I love how Madame Mim says, "I'll take care of you later, featherbrain." Archimedes, amazing owl, actually, starts out being very hard-hearted at first, but then oh, what a perfect stuffed owl. Stuffed? I beg your pardon? So, yeah, I especially think that this Disney movie is sort of underrated as well. I understand it came out during the 60s. It still holds up pretty well to this. Again, I'm serious. This is one of the funniest movies you will ever see in your life. Now, I'm not going to say you're going to enjoy this. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'll let you decide that for yourself. Because, the pressure to feel freezes feelings.
Number 4?
It wasn't me. That's right, it's Rocketman from 1997, starring the comedian Harlan Williams. Now, why is this so underrated? Seriously, I am saying this. This is the funniest movie I have ever seen in my life, right after Johnny English and Mouse Hunt. But seriously, it takes a really interesting idea, such as a mission to Mars, and even though they center around that a lot of comedy. I mean, Harlan Williams is just excellent in the role as Fred Z. Randall, and there's just a lot of memorable lines and funny things he says. He tries to play somewhat of an annoying character, but seriously, he's creative. I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of it was improvised by Harlan Williams himself. But yeah, there's this mission to Mars that takes place, and they actually land on Mars, but the comedy doesn't stop there. I mean, a lot of funny stuff still happens on Mars. It's a delightful family movie. There's a lot of funny slapstick in it, a lot of funny humor, appropriate humor, and just all-around enjoyableness. I think it's way more funny than supposed, say, Doctor Strangelove.
Number 3.
Ride like the wind, Bullseye! That's right, it's Toy Story 2. Now, believe it or not, this was the first movie I ever saw in a movie theater, and I had watched the first one just so many times over and over and over again, and when I heard that there was a second one, I was amazed. So we were walking in there, and I saw many posters for Toy Story 2, and I kept thinking, I kept asking, are we going to watch Toy Story 2? Are we going to watch Toy Story 2? And they said, maybe. And so we got in there, and the intro was especially amazing. The way they introduced the title, what I thought was just all around intelligent and smart. And when I saw Buzz actually just zooming down to the planet, I thought it was amazing. I thought all the toys had come to life and they were doing their own things, and Buzz was just zooming down there to such awesome music and animation. I thought, wow, this is amazing. Go, Buzz, go. And when he got zapped by Zurg, I thought, what? That's it? But then when I saw it was a game over, I thought, So it introduced me to that kind of interesting idea. Seriously, I believe this is even better than the first one. I think it is even better than Toy Story 3. Yeah, I think a lot of us might have waited for Toy Story 3, but I guess maybe the way it was handled, I felt like it wasn't satisfactory for me, but maybe that's just me. But Toy Story 2, especially the bloopers, were hilarious to watch. My insides were hurting uncontrollably, and it really takes all these characters that you know from the first one and actually really expands on it. And so the introduction of Zurg was especially fun. I don't know what else there is to say about this, but of course there's a memorable song from it, like, When Somebody Loved Me. Especially my sisters seem to have a lot of joy in that, especially a lot of their friends as well. But yes, this will always be a classic in my mind, and new characters like Jessie and Bullseye and the Prospector, and on it goes. And so, the more I watch it, just even better it goes, and I think I've rattled on about this enough, and I bet everyone else has said something already about this movie that I keep repeating. I might be repeating a lot of cliches here, but I'm just telling you how I feel.
Number 2?
Okay, big cliche here. Remember who you are. That's right, The Lion King. I mean, what can you say? What else can I say about it? I mean, it's amazing, it's memorable, and the soundtrack is especially one of the things that really makes that movie. The score by Hans Zimmer. I mean, Hans Zimmer, he knows how to give you goosebumps. And he's only won one Oscar. I believe he deserves several for all his work, including Pirates of the Caribbean, the Dark Knight series, Inception, though that wasn't a good movie with characters, and including Man of Steel. I mean, I don't care what anyone says. Man of Steel is awesome. Speaking of The Lion King, we first had it on a VHS tape that first had the Swan Princess on it, and then it went to The Lion King. We had actually, got it from some friend of ours who had copied both Swan Princess and The Lion King on it. It always seemed like a good order to have it. The Lion King, honestly speaking, I agree, is perhaps the best cartoon, Disney cartoon of all time, because the scale and the atmosphere just feels so real, and the characters especially fun, and there's a lot of funny side characters as well. I think it's still alive, if you can't recall who that is. And just all the songs. I love all the songs from that movie. No surprise at all how in 2011 of September of 2011, I should say, they actually re-released that movie in 3D back in the theaters for 2 whole weeks. And that movie grossed, believe it or not, $100 million at the box office. It was still a champion 17 years later. And now it's the 20th anniversary of that movie. And I wonder exactly what they're going to do about it this year. I wonder if 2011 was a little rushed for getting it back in theaters in 3D. Well, I'm just glad that people even heard good testimonies about little children who had grown up with such silly things like High School Musical or Hannah Montana, and especially a little girl was walking out of the theater. The girl said to her mom, "Wow, that was more fun than Hannah Montana." Just to give you an idea for the fact that whereas Disney haven't really gone, they're releasing a lot of, really mediocre, rather bad stuff. But again, I think they're going through a Disney renaissance with Tangled, Wreck-It Ralph, and Frozen, and Big Hero 6. I believe that might be another great big movie. The Lion King, I'm glad and privileged that I grew up with it like everyone else. I don't know if any of its sequels should get any mention, but Lion King 1.5 seemed a little interesting in my opinion. But honestly speaking, The Lion King is one of the best movies ever made, I have to say. And I don't think it's overrated. It deserves to be where it is right now. And Hans Zimmer, I don't think people have given this guy enough credit. I mean, his fans love him, of course. I don't understand why he doesn't get more rewards for his amazing work with many other movies. I mean, again, this guy, his music is amazing. The way his music just fits the mood and fits the atmosphere and fits the movie. I just love hearing his stuff, and I just think he's one of the best ever. I mean, if he teamed up with John Williams and Harry Gregson Williams and a lot of these other great film composers, I think they could literally bring Jesus to Earth. You never know what you can do until you try. Respect the land. Defend the defenseless. And don't you never spit in front of women or children. Can you guess yet what I'm talking about? At all? It's a Western film. It came out in 1995. I think I'll just skip right to the chase. A lot of you might not have heard about this movie, but it's A Tall Tale. This is my all-time favorite Disney movie. A lot of you might think this is a strange pick, but seriously, this is red-blooded and entertaining, just as the back cover says. Now, it stars a lot of big names like Patrick Swayze, Oliver Platt, and Scott Glenn. Now, I think their performances in this film are much better than the movies that they're mostly known for. But honestly speaking, I should also mention Nick Stale, who plays this boy called Daniel Hackett, who his life and his farm and his family are threatened by this J.P. Styles guy, played by Scott Glenn, and who wants to take their land and turn it into a industry or a coal mining area. It's just, I'm surprised that no one big has actually reviewed this movie through any of their Disney December or whatever. You might know who I'm talking about, but I don't have to mention them. But Tall Tale, again, the soundtrack, just that soundtrack. it's all kudos to Randy Edelman. I mean, I tip my hat to the guy. This guy is so amazing and so creative, and his music is so underrated and underappreciated. I believe he deserves more attention. This movie deserves more attention. I think even Randy Edelman deserves at least one Oscar for some work that he has done. But Tall Tale, I just wish that someone could actually get a hold of this and show it live on air on TV and actually show it to any of the people who have not heard about it. Because, seriously, why is this movie so underrated? I just don't get it. 1995 wasn't that big a year for blockbuster movies like the previous year was. I mean, 1994, and seriously, Patrick Swayze plays this cowboy called Pecos Bill who actually rides up in tornadoes, and that's a lot of fun action. Oliver Platt plays Paul Bunyan, and Roger Aaron Brown, a black actor, plays John Henry, the black man who is like really strong, and it just almost seems like a spiritual story as well. I mean, these three guys help this boy to get his life back and to get, to help his family and to stop, whatever bad guy it is that's trying to, threaten him. Like these three guys, I mean, it's almost like the Trinity of God, I might have to say. There's a spiritual principle, there's a spiritual message in this movie as well. But A Tall Tale, if you have not seen it, seriously, I'll go online and try and watch it, or at least try renting it from the video store, honestly speaking. Or if you know a friend who happens to have it, try and borrow it from them as well. I mean, I feel like I'm the first who actually is going on YouTube right now and saying this is a really great movie. I mean, it's one of the best ever, and if you don't know about it, I feel like you've really missed out. I mean, I feel, again, really privileged that I could have grown up with this movie. A Tall Tale is one fantastic adventure that you won't regret watching. And I think a lot of kids today should actually grow up with this movie, because something about movies of showing kids in danger can actually give them a conscience of wanting to be stronger people. I mean, the Never-Ending Story did that, and Return to Oz, I think, did that as well. But seriously, this is one of the greatest westerns ever, even better than Tombstone, even better than, in my opinion, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. I think some of those may be somewhat overrated, but this is really underappreciated. I think you really should get a hold of this. It's also funny as well, and there's good action, there's good serious moments in this as well. If you didn't notice what I was doing when I put my hat towards my chest, that was called The Code of the West, and they actually quote it in this movie. I forgot to mention, Stephen Lang plays Nick Stale's father in this, Daniel Hackett's father, who plays Jonas Hackett. And he really plays a fatherly figure. I mean, Stephen Lang, I understand they turned him into a bad guy in Avatar, though that's a movie I don't really like. But Stephen Lang, he's a really fatherly figure in this movie. I mean, he and his son are at odds, but then they go through a series of things and they end up making up in the end, and their relationship especially grows and gets stronger. This is also, it's a great family movie. It's a great film that especially sons can enjoy with their fathers. Family is where the heart is. A home is where the heart is. And I just feel like this is really underrated, and we ought to increase the VHS or DVD sales of this movie as well. So long, Pecos. How should I say this? Let me try to dialogue here. Out of respect for Patrick Swayze, who passed away in 2009, I think this is his best movie of all time, even better than in Ghost. Okay, I don't understand all the hype about that movie. And he actually almost looks like Kurt Russell with the mustache from Tombstone. But actually, this really is an unbelievable and terrific adventure. And I understand that nostalgic doesn't mean better. It just means you're more attached to it. But honestly, I'm just saying how I feel, and these are the best Disney movies of all time in my book. And I'm just saying I hope you enjoyed this video. So if there's anything that I forgot to say, I just want to make sure of anything else right now. I don't think I've forgotten anything else to say. But again, you're never too old for a Disney movie. So that's all I got to say for this video. Peace out, keep thinking, Jesus bless you, and TDFN, ta-da for now.